I've brought my needle up to begin for position 1. This is what we counted before, 15 canvas threads from the center of the top border. And now I'm going to count down 18 canvas threads. Okay, my needle kind of slipped, so I'm going to count again. I always count twice anyway. Okay, so this is the first stitch. Now, the rest of the stitches are going to follow the curve of the heart around, and they're all going to end over this line along the center. They're going to be in the same channel that's covered by this thread. As you stitch, this line is going to get pulled over, and that makes it easier to see where to put the needle down. But it can be a little bit tricky at first. Oh, see, I've already missed one. You do have to there's not a whole lot of counting with an Amadeus stitch, but you do have to make sure that your needle is going up and down in the right spots. All of the end points are going to be in adjacent holes along this center line. No skipped holes. And I had one that was skipped, so I had to start over again. Now, if you get lost and you can't remember where you were, what I do is I count how many stitches do I have going this way, and then I count up from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so that helps me see, especially if there's a lot of threads in the way, where I'm supposed to put the needle down. Okay, now we're going to go across the top of the heart. Just kind of holding this thread out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. If you make a mistake with your Amadeus stitch, the most common mistake is skipping a hole or putting 2 stitches in the same hole. And so those are the things, if your count doesn't come out right, those are the things to look out for. Okay, so now I've got 4 stitches across the top. Now I'm going to do 4 stitches down this way. You can use your finger or a needle to hold threads out of the way so that you can see exactly where your needle is supposed to go down. Okay, now I've got 4 diagonal stitches. Now we'll do this side of the heart. This is a really twisty kind of thread, but it is a round thread, so don't iron it. If you use your flat iron on it, it will flatten the round thread, and we want to keep the round texture of it. Silk pearl is a non-divisible thread. You do not use, you don't divide it, you use it just as it comes from the skein. And normally, you don't want to use too long a length when you're stitching. But in this case, see how long these stitches are? This first stitch is a whole inch long. And so because the thread is not entering the canvas as much, you can use longer lengths. I started with 56 inches, and I'm going to see if this is going to be enough to stitch this half of the heart. I think it's going to be a little too much. Okay, so now we are back up to where our first stitch came up. And I'm out of holes, but I still have not completed the edge of the heart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back down the center line with these stitches. So that means there's going to be a whole lot of thread in these top stitches, but I think it'll be okay. And I would rather have a complete heart shape than leave it unfinished. Okay, this will be the last stitch for this half. And we have our pretty half of an Amadeus heart. Now, if you have thread in your needle and you don't think you're going to get lost, you can go ahead and start stitching the other half. The other half is stitched exactly like this half. But if you're afraid that you might get lost when you start and stop, I recommend ending off the thread. So we're going to end off again with a pin stitch. So I'm just going to kind of separate the threads in here close to the center line, taking care not to catch any of the threads. Silk pearl is a little bit slippery, so I'm going to make sure that I have 3 stitches. And now I'm going to pull up and put some tension on this thread, hold my scissors as flat as I can, and snip. And if I need to, I can kind of stroke the threads back over. So this is the first half of the Amadeus heart.